world gone mad. Checking in with Kate, Amanda, and D-Race. This is Don't Be Extra. Your discretion is advised. Mic drop.
All right, so here we are. We are finally going to go ahead and kick off the Peyton Randolph House photo, which may or may not be a ghost. And of course, I have the fabulous Miss Amanda joining me.
Hello, hello, hello.
So what I have is a PowerPoint presentation and then some background information, and then we'll get right into like the photos because that's like the most interesting part of this. I don't want to bore anybody as by any means necessary. So let's see. I can just get this one. And Amanda, you are seeing the screen, right?
I can see your screen. Are we on the, are you still on the first photo?
I'm on the Don't Be Extra slide. Is that the one we're talking about? Awesome.
Yep,
okay.
That's the one.
All right, so basically, since COVID-19 has been keeping us all in our homes, I have been rewatching some of my favorite series, like BuzzFeed Unsolved, Paranormal, ghost hunting shows, and while I'm not a skeptic, I do love debunking some of the stories and evidence that is presented. When things cannot be debunked or explained, it really gives you that kind of rush, like maybe I caught something, you know, like maybe the Loch Ness Monster does exist. So the boring background is essentially, we went on a family trip. It was me and my brother's family and my parents to Williamsburg in June of 2019, so just over a year ago. And for people that don't know, Williamsburg, Virginia, it's like Colonial Williamsburg. It's about an hour and a half north of Virginia Beach, which is my hometown. And as a kid, we used to go there all the time. And I literally hated this trip because it was always in the summer. It was always hot. It was pretty boring, and there weren't many things like to like run around and look at. It just wasn't very interesting. So as an adult, it was much different because there were a lot more people dressed up in character, and then I basically could just like walk away and pay attention to the things that only interested me. So that was cool. If you do go to Colonial Williamsburg, it's important that it does not cost you anything to tour the general area, only to purchase tickets to go to some of the locations. My niece and nephews were with us. We chose not to spend a lot of additional money because the kids got really bored, and we just had more fun with them like running around. So at night, there are many ghost hunts that take place basically from the time of like early evening till after the sun goes down. We chose for the one after the sun goes down because it was about 97 degrees and there had been looming thunderstorms since around 4 o'clock. Although at the time of this, it did not rain and it was about 80 degrees. And that's only gonna be important because of the photos. We actually chose the Spooks and Legends tour because the guide dresses up in a period costume, carries a lantern, and tells you a bunch of stories at different locations. And we thought that would be really cool for like the kids. They would, you know, like a lot more. We purchased them online. It was really easy. And the 2 youngest kids were extremely tired by the day's earlier activities. So their parents were like real troopers to kind of get them through the whole tour, especially my sister-in-law, who did a great job with my niece. By the time that we'd walked the quarter mile or so, we arrived at the Peyton Randolph House. I had taken almost no photos. I had barely any phone battery left. It was a warm night. The guide explains that the top left windows always glow for some unknown reason and told the group to take pictures because it was well known that orbs and ghostly apparitions appear in the photos. So I had snapped 3 photos, waited for the crowd to move on, and then took 4 more photos with my flash on, trying to focus on these particular windows. But later, when I reviewed the evidence, you'll see why I really started to focus in on the bottom left window. Okay, so this is a map basically of Colonial Williamsburg. It shows you that there's like Yorktown, Williamsburg, Jamestown, all the different settlements and things like that. So the house is pretty well known for the Peyton Randolph House. What you're looking at right here is essentially just the, where's it at? This is not what I was looking at. Dang it, Amanda. So this is like basically like the governor's mansion as far as that goes. It's one of the most, you know, well-known things. It's photographed as far as that goes. And this is the one.
Can I ask you something?
Yes, go ahead.
Is this the one that during the day it's open and you can kind of like go through it and go like on a tour of the like the whole kind of grounds?
Yes. This is one of the buildings that you have to pay for to go into.
I have been in there before.
Oh, have you? What does it look like
Yes.
inside? Because we didn't do that.
It looks okay. I actually went with my godmom and her family, but it was like a huge group of us. So the only reason why I remember it is because halfway through, Mr. Allen's father couldn't hold up anymore. So we actually ended up sitting on those like on the bench that's on the, if you're looking at the photo to the right, we actually sat there and waited for everybody to come out. So we went through like the garden area, and like we went through like all of that, and it was actually pretty cool. But like, again, like I wasn't really into history like back then. Like I'm getting better, but like, you know, I was like, this is boring. But you know, but yeah. I'm sorry.
Right.
Continue.
No, you're good. So Colonial Williamsburg is actually 201 acres. It's called like a living history museum. So it's really freaking huge. They have, like I said, people are dressed up per the era using colonial grammar, but not colonial accents or anything like that. Like I said, this is the governor's palace. This was actually reconstructed in 1930s, like sometime in the 1930s. And the other thing too is like right through here, there's also horse-drawn carriage rides, and they like come right past here. So we got to see a couple of those. It's interesting story because we were there at night, and they bring you from like the left-hand side of the screen all the way down to that front gate. And while we were there, all of a sudden, like this dark shadow was like moving, and we were like, "Oh, that's nothing." And then like it literally like an image, like a figure comes over to the gate. Thank God it was just someone that was there to lock the gates. But like for a second, because we're on a ghost tour, it like scared the crap out of everybody on the whole ghost tour. Like, do you guys see that? And they're like, "Oh, look at that." And then it was just like, "Oh my God." There's like a thing right there, but it was a real person. So if you can see like on this map, the governor's palace is like kind of the top left, and the Randolph House and its outbuildings are circled in red. So it was actually a very important house just because it was so close to the governor's palace and like the palace green. Okay, so this is the actual house itself. It was built in 1715 by William Robertson before it was sold to Sir John Randolph in 1721. He also purchased that land next to it to make like an L shape of one combined house. It's pretty, when you're looking at it, it doesn't seem to like look really imposing or any different. I mean, they do have completely constructed or reconstructed houses on the site. So it's not like this is like the only standing house like in the whole area. And here you can see that it's kind of like that L shape. So it was one of the more elegant homes just because it was more like an estate or a compound, and like all these buildings were like connected. So they obviously had a lot of money, and you can pay to go into the house. But like I said, we didn't pay for anything that day when we were there. These are the portraits of Peyton Randolph. He was and his wife, they were born September 10th, 1721 in Williamsburg, Virginia. He actually went to the College of William and Mary and studied in law. He actually ended up going to London, and he became a member of the bar in 1743 before he returned back to the colony of Virginia the following year. 2 years later, he married his wife, Elizabeth Harrison. At the age of 24, he was only allowed to do this because he was able to secure his inheritance from his wealthy father, leaving his mother to live with him on the property until she died in 1754. So I don't know if that's that's like a time thing, but I just can't imagine living with my mother-in-law. So I'm sure I'm sure that was fun for these people. Like, yay. Okay. So the couple never had any children, but they did raise several of Elizabeth's younger siblings because her parents had died early. They were among the most prominent and powerful families in colonial Virginia. And Herman Melville even wrote that Randolphs were the quintessential old established family in the land. They had both lived at a time when the American colonies were working towards declaring their independence from Britain. So it was a very unsettled time, kind of like it feels like it is now, like every day. His involvement in politics actually put him on the blacklist of the people that the British intended to arrest and had hanged. It's interesting to note this because his father, Sir John Randolph, was among like the only person in the whole colony that was ever knighted by the English crown. So basically, like, I'm sure he was kind of like a black sheep because his dad was like great old Irish, English guy, and then now he's gonna like turn into like a traitor to the cause or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He had an interesting life though, because he was 53 years old when he was elected to the speaker of both the first and second Continental Congresses, which were in 1774 and 1775. and that makes him the unofficial first president of the United States of America. So that's pretty cool. Although he did get really
Oh,
sick
wow.
both terms. Yeah. He died of apoplexy, which means bleeding from your internal organs, but it's more likely thought of as a stroke. And he was dining with Thomas Jefferson on October 22nd, 1775 in Philadelphia, which a lot of people went to as far as to do, political and, well-meaning things like that. And he died. So he died of that while he was there dining with Thomas Jefferson. So
Jesus.
yeah, this poor dude, they put his body into a pickle barrel and then sent him back to
Ew.
Williamsburg. So he was like pickled to be interred at the chapel of the College of William and Mary. Yeah, so I just felt like that was interesting. So I was like, I don't know if that was like a thing they did back in the day, but very interesting. He has counties named after him in North Carolina, Massachusetts, and Indiana, like ships named after him, and his house was declared a National Historic Landmark in 1970. So why is the house so haunted? So this is where it's going to take if we had some dramatic music, this is where it kind of gets good. So to have a haunted house, you have to have ghosts. Yeah, there you go. And the house is over 300 years old. So I'm sure it's seen its fair share of deaths and tragedies, several owners, wars. It was even a hospital at one point. People report hearing disembodied voices. They hear children playing. They say that they're touched or scratched, or they're even pushed while they're on the property, not just in the house. This has happened to a lot of workers at Colonial Williamsburg, including a security guard. He got trapped in the basement after he went around to do the lockup. He said the door slammed shut and his flashlight went out, leaving him only with his radio to actually call for help. He was found being held down on the basement floor by something that was unseen, only to be released when help arrived. And he actually has a story on YouTube. So if you do a Google search, you can actually watch the video of this guy. It's pretty compelling. He's an older guy. He doesn't seem like he has any reason to really lie. So just, interesting. Okay. So the most widely accepted cause of the hauntings goes back directly to the Randolph family. The Randolphs owned 27 slaves who made their complete way of life possible. And then they had more than 80 additional slaves on their various plantations and other properties that they owned. So while the colonists are bravely campaigning for freedom against taxation and abuses from England, they're also ensuring their way of life by enslaving others. So it's really hypocritical. But the prevailing haunted house story comes from Peyton's wife, Elizabeth, who is known as Betty, Elizabeth Betty Harrison. A slave named Eve apparently cursed the house after being sold to new owners as a punishment for running away with the British the previous year. And there was therefore being forcibly separated from her son. So that was one of the reasons they think that maybe the house is cursed, because according to legend, that's what happens. Now, when you go to Colonial Williamsburg, there is no indication of this anywhere. Just FYI, I had to look this up on other sites to figure out where this actually came from, because Colonial Williamsburg does not go into this.
I wonder why not.
I can't imagine why that wouldn't be right at the top. So additionally, and without much support, to be honest, because I really couldn't find much about this, there is a story that she was exceptionally cruel and that she was able to hide her atrocities because of her status and wealth in much the same way as Marie Delphine McCarty LaLaurie. Now, she, you might know her from the American Horror Story Coven series. Kathy Bates actually played her as the infamous criminal. When I was on a ghost walk in New Orleans in 1998, I actually saw that house. She's known for having done medical experiments and different, awful things to different slaves and things like that, until the people found out and actually burned the house burned down, and they escaped, and whatever happened to them, no one really knows. But they do a comparison on that. However, like I said, there's not much to support this, in history or, any kind of writing or anything like that. Okay. So another reason that people think that this place might be haunted is because just because someone built something there doesn't mean that that's the history of the whole place, because the hauntings actually are known to predate 1699 and the colonial presence in the area. So they point to the presence of disturbed and desecrated Native American graves as to why the house and other areas at Williamsburg are actually haunted. So while it does not show remains, there are Native American pottery that was discovered on the land that is now occupied by the Randolph House. So in 1940, the National Parkway Tunnel was built. It destroyed any of the graves that hadn't been discovered back in the excavations in 1938. So people aren't sure if there actually were graves there or if they're not, but everyone agrees that there were actually people that were actually living there. So I thought it was interesting about this, Amanda, because it's kind of a reach and there's not really anything to back this up as far as this is the cause of haunting. But this one person who I was reading about did actually write it. They quote, I'm going to quote you about what they said. "The influence of Native Americans on our history must not be forgotten, and their rightful place in our ghost stories and on our ghost tours must not be overlooked." So I thought that was an interesting perspective because I've been on like many ghost walks and I can tell you straight up, no one has ever been like, Native Americans were here first and, you know, they're the things that haunt this place. So I think that's kind of like, it paints ghost walks and just like Americans' viewpoint of ghosts in a different light. So
Right.
I just thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so on to the pictures. Okay, so the first picture on the left is what it looked like when I took a picture without any flash. Completely dark, okay? Then I actually ended up using Microsoft Photos. And I clicked the option only to enhance the photo on the middle photo. And then on the third photo, which is on the very far right, I brightened it up so you can just kind of like make out the window frames. So most importantly, I was not checking my phone in between pictures. I was just like snapping pictures. So I didn't see any of this until I reviewed the photos the next day, and it might possibly be a ghost. So I just wanted to explain
Totally.
like how I got this, okay? This is exactly what the process was. So you can see like it was completely pitch black. Then when you enhance it, and then you actually have to brighten it to actually see anything.
That totally looks like a person.
Okay, so if you are standing in the dark taking photos of the house in a group, everyone has different goals. Some are trying to take photos without the benefit of flash, while others are literally taking selfies, like to each your own, whatever. So the etiquette of a ghost tour is to be quiet while the guide is talking, because they're not speaking all that loud. And if there's more people, you're further away, you can't hear it. And then you're trying to keep up with the group. Exactly.
Right.
So we had small kids and they were exhausted. We'd been out all day. The high was like 97 degrees. It was very warm. We did our best to observe this so everyone has a fun experience. So if you go on a ghost walk, please just remember that, just to be quiet when the guide is talking, and then don't be rude about like taking pictures or, you know, doing other things in front of other people. So I took 2 photos with the group, and as you can see, it is very dark. Just like when you're watching a ghost hunter show, when they're in night vision mode, you don't realize they're standing around in pitch black darkness. It looks green. So I could not see anything except the outline of the house and the windows in the moonlight. Also, there's a lot of blurs in front of the camera in this one, and I'm like certain these are just bugs flying around. So after this, however, I waited for several minutes because this is kind of like the end of our tour, and like these other people like moved away, and then I was like, all right, I'm just gonna like snap a couple pictures. So okay, so again, these are completely dark. This is all through like enhanced things, okay? So when I was looking at like the windows, I did notice something in the bottom left. It almost looks like there is a light on inside of that room. However, remember, it was completely black. So I started to enhance the photos. So that's all this is. So you can see over here, you can kind of like, it looks like something's kind of on, there's something shining in there. And then I started looking over here. Yeah.
Wait.
Okay. So the next one.
Wait. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
So in that picture, in the top window.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see 3 people or something up there. Yeah. It's something up there. If you that before.
Yeah. So there's just like, it just felt like it was, I don't know, something going on. So remember, this is completely dark. We are just using like enhancing. I did not have a flash on. I know it looked really bright, but I did not have a flash on. So in this bottom left-hand window right here is like kind of what I was focusing on. It to me, it looks like there was definitely something there. So so there's another story about the 2 upper left-hand windows that glow. Okay, so this is from one of the websites, and it basically shows you that these 2 windows glow for no reason. And that's what they've always said. However, like when I looked at this other photo, it clearly looks like there are blinds hanging in the windows. So I'm not able to like debunk this based off one picture, but it does not appear that something, it does appear that something is like hanging there. I'd have to know the date on the picture and I don't, but just notice that nothing is visible in the two left-hand windows. So because of these like blinds, that's why I think they always glow, but like these other two. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So in this next photo, I found this on the online blog.
We already said it.
Yeah. Okay. So you can see the small orbs. These are quite common when you see them in photos taken of the Peyton Randolph house. Many ghost hunting shows describe orbs and moving orbs as spirits or merely energy. Again, nothing in like the bottom left windows. Okay. So we're not the first people to actually see a similar image in the bottom left window. Unlike the actual site, it says on one of the Haunted Tour web pages, they have this picture which is described as a soldier with a tricorn hat and a musket. So this is the picture that I got offline. This is not my picture.
Wow.
But this one is. So on the left-hand side is the final photo that I took, and I have enlarged it on the right-hand side. It definitely doesn't fit with the rest of the windows as far as like, you can see there's clearly something, and then you can see it here. Okay. And then one last picture. And I just destroyed the clarity and sharpness on the image.
What?
And so I brightened the photo as much as possible so you can see it from the original. But I feel like
That's a person.
I feel like it's a person with a hat. Like that's what I really think that is. So like,
or an Indian.
Yeah, or an Indian or a Native American or like whoever, a slave. I mean, I don't know what this is, but it just looks like to me like there's a person. So I'm gonna go back to like, this is like the grayed out picture and it kind of looks like a face. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's a person staring out the window.
Dude, like I've never been into ghost stuff before. Like I intend to like start going on ghost tours. Like this is crazy.
Yeah, so like, and like I don't know what's in this you know, I don't know what's actually in the room. Like I feel bad now that like we didn't actually tour the house because we actually saw something in like this picture, and I feel like if I had, then I could be like, oh, it was a shelf with, you know, a coat on it, or, you know, something to like kind of describe what it is. And I did go online and try to find like pictures of the house itself to like figure out what's in that room, but they only showed like the main entranceway when you first walked in and things like that. So I couldn't do that. But I really feel like it might be something like that. So just to like wrap up, it was a very fun night. I was really thrilled that I could show my nephews like a grainy photograph where like if you look just right, you can see a ghost, which I'm pretty sure is like what everybody says. But I would love to go back to the house if COVID hadn't actually happened, because they do EVP sessions on the front porch and different things like that. EVP, a lot was electronic voice phenomena or something like that. And they basically record static to see if like you can hear anybody talking. It was super cool. So I don't know. I just wanted to share it, to show it to you, to kind of see what we captured, things like that. If anyone that's actually watching this video, if you like it, let us know. If you know that there are blinds in those top windows, or if you know there's a mannequin or a piece of furniture in that bottom left window that keeps, you know, popping up as looking like a soldier, yeah, let us know. So leave a note in the comments. You can shoot us an email at don'tbeextrapodcast@gmail.com, and we just appreciate it. So
yay,
that's kind of what that was. But yeah, I thought that was very compelling. So I wanted to know what your thoughts were. If you think that these are compelling photos, or if you think that, you know, maybe it's just something else.
That is 100% a ghost.
I thought you were gonna be my skeptic. Be like,
oh, you thought I was gonna tell you no? Okay,
I thought you were definitely gonna be the skeptic and be like, you know, that's definitely not what that is. So, but.
Oh, you want me to do that? Okay, hold on. Okay.
No, I wish you'd be honest. So,
no, I really honestly feel like it is though. Like I'm not joking. Like I honestly feel.
Yeah, like this one, I think like this screen where it shows you, like it definitely because I just like literally blew this up because like we were looking at it on my phone, and for whatever reason, like my nephew's like, "Oh, look at this. What's that?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know," because like you have to remember that when you're taking pictures of this house, it's completely black. I mean, it's completely blacked out. So you have no idea like what you're gonna see. So
Yeah, no, that's definitely a I'm definitely getting vibes of like a I'm definitely getting ghost vibes. Definitely. I'm definitely seeing things. Because I even saw the glowy, not even can you hear me?
yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Sorry. I even saw in that last, like the first slide that you showed, the bottom left, I saw like what looked like 3 shadows. And then like when you blew it up, like when you lightened it, it became kind of like a glow. But like if you go back to like, if you can, I don't know if you can, but if you can go back to, not that one, not that one.
Let me see. Let's just see all the slides.
That one, the very first. Yep, that's the one. No, I'm sorry. Is it this one? Hold on. Bottom left. Yeah, it's that one.
Like
but
right here?
if you go to the picture on the left,
okay.
If you look at the top, it looks like 3 people.
Yeah, like I was so focused on that bottom one, I didn't really look at that. But there's definitely something shining.
But even like, because then once you lightened it, it kind of gave it more of a like you said, a glow. Yeah. But like when you look at it for the first time, like when I looked at it for the very first time, I was like, oh my God, there's 3 people in the window.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what that is.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. So
that's crazy.
But yeah. So I did look to see if like anybody else had like, you know, seen anything else. And the only thing I could find was that someone else had seen a similar person in that bottom left-hand screen. So, or the left-hand window. So yeah. So, but cool.
That was crazy.
Yeah. So, well, just real quick to like all of our listeners, thank you so much. Like we said, go ahead and leave us a comment. You can go ahead and like the video, and we'll try to get some more content out there for you shortly. So,
awesome.
Yeah.